flavor? Is it spicy? Is it bland? Are you a little too salty? Hot pepper? Whatever it is. We're going to talk about what's your recipe, what's your flavor. We're going to talk about the flavors and how it relates to everything that is around you. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about relationship. I'm going to throw in romance, politics, all of this. What are you going to serve with this new life that we are in? COVID is in the rearview mirror, but it's not gone. It's always going to be there, tapping us on the shoulder. But how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to look at life? Vaccine, no vaccine, all of these things. Look, don't you go anywhere. I'll be right back. We're going to talk about your flavor.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dr. Ed's Sensational Sundays. I found this wonderful, tiny little book that talks about practicing the peace of God. And I was like, man, this is interesting. When you see a book and you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I kind of did. I was like, it's not going to, I'm going to be through with this. And that book has been with me, I know, for the last 25 years, because it talks about how God is never, ever far away from you. He's always as close as your breath. So if you practice breathing, knowing God is breathing in and out of you, it's like, there's a peace that comes over you. And so I want you to practice the peace of God. Just do it right now, real quick. Doesn't that make you feel good? And here's Dr. Ed.
She got me breathing. In and out. Yep, that's one of our meditation techniques. You got to learn it, especially, many of you have learned it, especially during this particular time. Hi, I'm Ed Montgomery. They call me Dr. Ed, and we are right here at Sensational Sunday, and we are talking about, well, I'll get into that in just a minute. But before we do it, you know what to do. Make sure you share this with somebody. Find somebody you know, somebody you like, somebody you love. Share it with them. Somebody that kind of thinks a little bit like you, that you can have a conversation and say, did you hear that? What do you think about that? And also, your comments. If you hear something that's truth, something that just rings the bell inside of you, let me know. You can shout, you can type hallelujah, H-A-L, hal out. We'll know what it is, or yeah, or whatever you want to do. But make that comment. We want to hear what your comments, what you think about the thoughts, because that's important. And not only that, you got to like it. If you like it, it tells the people that you like it. So when they see you like it, they'll open up their algorithms and all those kind of good things. We're headed into toward Easter, and we're headed toward this particular season. And I've been dealing with just that whole thing about the flavors of our lives. When we're coming out of this whole thing about COVID. Now hear me when I say coming out. I'm not saying go up there and, have a cut up your mask party and throw your mask away. I know there are people that's doing stuff like that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is we're watching the vaccine, where people are getting vaccinated. I'm not even getting into who's getting vaccinated, who's not, should you or shouldn't you. Look, I got vaccinated. I got my last one. I'm ready to go. There are people who are ready to get out there in life. Business is opening back up. Restaurants are opening back up. And I promise you, you're going to want to go. You're going to want to get back into what you call a normal life. But your life is not going to be like it was. It's going to be different. But here's one of the most important things. You're different. Over these last several months, this last year, did you check out what I call your inner voice? I'm calling it your voice. Now, I can use other terms, and that's one of the things we're going to deal with, is how are you going to relate and serve in this new life of yours? I likened things unto a soup. And I used a soup because you got so many different flavors in that particular soup. I was going to start with gumbo and say, how you create your gumbo, but I am not a creator of gumbo. I can do a soup and some and some Italian basics, but I'm not going to gumbo because I can hear my gumbo people out there. How many of y'all gumbo cookers? Yeah, I know I got some out there. Yeah, I'm not going to do that because I could hear you out there. No, no, no. But I do know this one thing, and this is something that gumbo cookers tell me all the time, and that is that gumbo is only going to be as good as the roux. In other words, that basic roux that you create that's going to give it the flavor. And every gumbo cooker has their own little, thing. So I hear you. So I do know that. And so we got all our people from Louisiana. Oh, I forgot. I know I'm breaking into this, but I still have to say we got some shout outs. And I got to say hello to our people who been typing in from Cleveland, Ohio, some from Jacksonville, Florida, Peoria, Illinois, some who have been hitting us up from New York, California. Of course, our people in Lubbock. I heard from Lubbock last week. So if you're in another city other than Houston, type it in. Let me know. If you're in another city another state other than Texas, let me know what state you're in. And if you're in another country, let me know if you're watching from another country, because I'll shout it out for you next week and let everybody know that you're out there. Okay? All right. You've got to serve what your flavor is in life. What do you serve your life? Who are you How are you serving your life? Whether it's business, whether it is entrepreneur. How is your flavor being served as an entrepreneur? Because if you don't have the right flavor, you're not going to do it. It's not going to give you the most out of business, out of that corporate field, and how you're moving up in that corporate ladder. If you don't have the right flavor as an entrepreneur, you're going to have a spicy red hot business or a bland business. Bland is all right if that's who you're trying to reach. Another person you're trying to serve your particular flavor to is, let's throw politics in there. Okay, we throw politics in there because everybody has their own view, because politics is hot right now. That's education. What are you learning? In other words, where are you going to school? How are you getting your education? Whether you're in school, whether you're virtual, whether you've waited for years and decided, I think, hey, everybody's virtual, I might as well go back. I didn't want to be on the campus with all those young kids, with all my gray hair. And normally you'll go into money. What kind of money are you attracting? What's your flavor in bringing in money? And then I would normally just go into and say relationship, but I'm going to break this relationship down and say, what kind of flavor is my relationship and my romance? Now, the reason I'm breaking this down like that is because you can be in a relationship, but it not be romantic. But now, as we start coming outside and getting back out there, and, you're going to have that romance that's going to be popping up. Folk going to be asking you questions too now. Get ready. They're going to be saying, hey, show me your card. What card? My credit card? No, your vaccination card. And so you better have that vaccination card ready to pull out so you can show them. I'm not showing nobody my vaccination. I'm just saying, well, it may hamper your romance life. Your flavor may not be what you think it ought to be. But Whether you're making a gumbo or whether you're making a soup, and I'm kind of sticking with the soup that we've sauteed the thing and simmered. Everybody has what they call their secret ingredient. And it's the secret ingredient that gives the soup the flavor, or your dish that you're cooking the flavor that's different from everybody else's. What is the secret ingredient in your life that gives your life flavor so that when you serve it in the context of business, in the business world, in the corporate world, as an entrepreneur, yeah, in education, in politics. What are you thinking about that? Are you Republican, Democrat? Are you neither one of them? In relationship, how are you relating to, your friends, your family members, your children? And how are you relating, as we earlier mentioned about, how are you relating romantically? Are you attracting people with your flavor, or are you pushing people aside? And then, what is that secret ingredient that makes you unique and makes you special above everybody else? What sets you apart? What sets you on the top? And what makes somebody who's looking for you connect with you? Now, you know I'm big on one thing, and I call this number one. And that is something that I have been, and that I have been talking about recently. And I think at this stage of my life, I'm not trying to throw a big net out to grab as many people as I can to impress a lot of people. That's wonderful, that's nice, but that's not what I'm trying to do. And I know I've been moving toward this over the years, and I used to say, well, hey, if you don't like me, I don't care. Well, but we all care. We care about whether people like us. You don't want to be around me, and I don't want to be around you. Yeah, you say that, but you still want, everybody that connects with you to kind of like you. But what do we know in life? We know that everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to want to walk with you. Everybody's not going to want to be with you. And so you have to really condition yourself to understand that about living. That's just the way it is. So what are we looking for? We are looking for the people who are looking for us. We want the people who want us. I've learned this as a spiritual mentor. I've learned this, and by the way, you're going to start hearing me change some of my definitions of things. I'm gonna work with that word spiritual. I'm gonna work with that word church. We're looking for people who want to walk on our journey with us. I'm looking for people who are looking for me. I know I have something to say. I know there's something I have to be able to share that is just going to help you get through some of them tough trails while you're on this mountain. So I'm looking for those who are looking for me at this particular space in my life. And that's what you have to do. You have to realize that I'm not going to just get everybody. When you're young, I'm going to have all the business in Houston. So I need to squash everybody else's business so that I can get all the business. I'm going to tell everybody that their car, everybody else's car dealership is no good so that I'll get all the sales. I'm going to tell all the restaurants that, that restaurant ain't no good. Their food is horrible. But come to my restaurant because my food is better than everybody else. Somebody said, well, that's just self-confidence. That's not self-confidence because your food is not better than everybody else's. Your business is not better than everybody else's. Your business, Now, hear what I'm getting ready to say. Hear what I'm getting ready to say. Somebody once asked me, what is the best message you ever heard? Someone was teaching. And I said, what is the best message you ever heard? And I've heard people say, they'll say this one, that one, this one, and that one. And I'm saying to myself, it wasn't the best message I studied. I thought this was a good message. Nobody mentioned that one. And they told me the best message I ever heard is the one I needed at the moment. See, the best person is the best person you needed at that moment. This is what you come to understand about life. There are people out there that want to connect with you and just you. As a matter of fact, they've been searching all their lives for you. And the message and the life that has the flavor that you have been garnering and coming up with has been just for them. You just haven't found each other. As a matter of fact, I think what salvation is, Jesus didn't call people sinners, he called them lost. I think salvation, and what Jesus talked about the angels, said the angels in heaven shout when someone or a sinner repents or someone who is lost finds their way. I believe that when we find things, that is the greatest event that can ever happen in your life. It's when you find something that is lost. And I think what we're looking for are things that have been lost to us. Entrepreneurship, you're looking for that business that has been lost to you, that you have not seen, that you have not created yet. There's something in you, something inside of you that is yet to be created. And there's been so much junk there. Now, let me tell you where all this is coming from. It's coming out of the passage of scripture, John chapter 10. You know, I love John chapter 10. And I love many passages, but this one just gets me. John chapter 10. And I focused in on verse 3. John chapter 10, Exodus, where it says, the thief comes to rob, to kill, to destroy. That's in verse 10. But I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. I believe that what we call prosperity. People say, oh, I don't believe in prosperity. Oh, yes, you do. You believe it when it's got to do with you. You believe it when you need the bills paid. Yeah, you believe in prosperity. Yes, you believe that the world, the universe, everything that's out there, God, everything should be flowing. That's what affluence is. It is the flow of income. It is the ebb and flow of what you need, that when you desire something, this is what comes to you. This is what you need. I believe that what you need is coming to you. I believe it's flowing to you. And the greatest teacher, and this is what I believe, the greatest teacher teaches us out of John chapter 10, verse 3. He says, my sheep know my voice. He says, they hear my voice, and I call them by name. 3 words. Voice. No, hear, voice, call. Say it with me. Hear, voice, call. Now think about those 3 words. All of it has to do with something speaking to you. And I told you about the business box, the entrepreneur box, the romance box, the relationship box, the education. I told you about those boxes. Then there's another box over here. And this is what we call our spiritual box. This is church. Let me bring this up because I'm getting ready to give you some definitions. First of all, spirituality. Spirituality is not really, you hear people talk about, I don't want a religious person. I want a spiritual person. Those usually, girls say that. But guys, I want a religious woman, And I want a woman to go to church. I'm ready to settle down and da 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 da. But the girls are looking for a spiritual man. So spirituality is how we exercise God from within. Spirituality is how we conceive and perceive of God and universal things around us. This is how we see things from the inside. Religion is how we do things on the outside in order to try and touch God. Some people say, well, I don't need religion, we need spirit. Yeah, I say that too. But you need a little religion in your life because religion does bring a little structure to your life. It does give you step one, step two. And sometimes in order to get where you're going, the spiritual, if you can just be only spiritual, sometimes you can get off into, you get off into that. You need some woo and you need some now. This is real and practical. You're looking for how to bring the spiritual to the everyday life. You're looking for how to bring and so that's the spirituality. Church, say, well, we going back to church. Well, what are you going to find when you get back to church? Do you really think that it's going to be just like you left it? Come on. Let's be honest about it. Are you the same person? How can church be just like you left it if you are a different person than what you left? I mean, that left the church. You're not the same person that left last year. You know what I'm saying? So if you're different, guess what's going to happen when you get back to church? And you're going to expect it to be the same. But your feelings going to be different. Your spiritual level going to be a little bit different. You've been listening to some things you have not been listening to in your particular church. I'm just going so I can get my praise on. Well, after you get your praise on, what about your substance? Look at what's going on in our world today. You say, well, the politics, voting rights, people out there dealing with shootings, and people are afraid about that. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about that. That's not why I go to church. I don't go to church here. I just go to hear about Jesus. And I go to, because the pastor I go to now, all he says is, we don't talk about any politics or we don't talk about what's going on in the world. We just talk about Jesus. How can you talk? Listen, I'm getting ready to say something that's going to rock you off your rocker. It's going to take you off your ledge. That's going to make you stand up and maybe even pop your neck. I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm going to say this to you. It's not enough just to talk and preach about Jesus. Now, hold on. Don't leave me. You can't just preach about Jesus. You got to also preach what Jesus preached. I'm going to say it again. It's not just enough to talk about Jesus. You got to talk the talk that Jesus taught. Because if you can't preach what Jesus preached, all you're doing is giving an overview of history. All you're doing is regurgitating what you think about Jesus. But when you start, that's what Jesus said. Jesus didn't preach about Jesus. You ever thought about that? Jesus sent his disciples out not to preach about Jesus, but to preach the kingdom. The kingdom of God. Seek it, and you know you want it. You know you want it. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. So, upon this rock I will build my church. So, what is church? We know what spirituality is, religion. What is church? The word church comes from a Greek word. Let me check my time over here. Hold on. Okay. I want to make sure I'm on the right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll make sure I'm on the right place. What is church? And I said I was going to get into this because, listen, I am not going to take more than 55 seconds to tell you what church is. I know it's a complex issue, but the word church comes from the Greek word ecclesia or ecclesia. I use ecclesia, but I think it's ecclesia. And you know what it means? It means the called out. Now, what did I tell you earlier out of John chapter 10 and verse 3? I said there are three words: voice, hear, voice, call. Jesus said, my sheep know my voice. They hear my voice, and I call them by name. So if Jesus calls us by name, if he's called us, then he's called us. What is the church? Ecclesia. It is the called out. So we could take the word, the voice, and that's what church becomes. In other words, it's the voice. Well, we're listening for the voice. When you go to church, what are you looking for? You're listening for the voice that's going to speak to you inwardly. Spiritual, what are you looking for? The voice that's going to speak to you and call you by name. Church is the voice. Spirituality is the voice. We're listening for that voice. Oh, I'll be somewhere listening for my name. See, that's that old song. I'm listening for my name. What's my name? My character, who I am. I'm listening because when he speaks to me, he tells me who I am. And when I know who I am, my life, the recipe, the flavor of my life changes. So here we got business, entrepreneur, relationship, politics, romance, education. All this is sitting over here in our lives. And then we go to church. And we go to church because we're listening for the voice. So when we're going to the voice, we're looking for the voice. So what we got is a building with a steeple on top, looking for the voice. And whoever can do church better. So I can go to church so I can get some gas in my tank. So after I leave church, I can get back into business and relationship and romance and everything and try to make sense of it. Here is what I have learned as a spiritual mentor. I have learned, what if the voice becomes one of those? What if we take the steeple and knock off the steeple, flatten the roof, make it a box, and then take that box and put it inside of the rest, where the rest of the boxes are, and connect them up to where we use the voice. We're listening for the voice that can speak to us about business, to the voice that can speak to us about education, to the voice that can make us wise. Not just education, it's not just knowledge, but it's wisdom. We connect the voice to where we're able to understand what they're talking about in politics. We can hear the in-between words, what they're doing. That's what your Martin Luther Kings did. We're in another era now. We're going to be asked to step up again. We're going to be asked to stand up and let our spirituality be known, even in our society. We can't just sit in church and praise Jesus and we don't come out there and stand with people. It's not enough. It is not enough just to raise your hands and praise Jesus and not take Jesus to people and not stand with people who are in trouble, people who have been hurt, people and families who have lost their loved ones because of insane acts. You're not going to say anything about it? What kind of church is that you go to where you just go to and hear and somebody gives you a flower and you take a flower and go home? I don't need a flower. I need the scent of that flower in my life. I need the fragrance of that flower in my life. I need to share my food, my recipe. I need to share what it is, that secret ingredient that's in my life. If I'm going to feed business, if I'm going to feed entrepreneurs, if I'm going to touch people's lives, if I'm going to enter into a good romantic relationship. People done heard all the online stuff. People done heard all the online lies and all of the dating website stuff that you done rehashed and recooked up and all the leftovers. Oh, well, I hang glide. Well, you know, I travel between Spain and Russia. And I regularly go down into the Caribbean. And I swim 15 miles a day. And where's your picture? Well, I don't think we need to look at each other, and judge the book by its cover. Yeah, but I want to see some cover. I would want to see some cover. You want to see some cover too. I want to see the cover of that book. So I'll see whether or not I want to go to that first page and read it. But you can't go out there and just get everybody. You got to have some flavor too. And that's what I'm bringing up. See, what's happened in our lives in the last year? Has COVID and everything that's gone on, has it made us bitter? When somebody tastes that, has it made us bitter? Has it made it too spicy? Have we become angry at living, at life? Has so many things happened to us over this last year? We've just become angry. Listen, you got to stay on that stuff, baby. You can't let that anger get in. Hey, it's all right. I understand it. But you got to realize, am I going to let this flavor stay in my life? And you realize this food is just too hot. I'm too angry. And then you say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what? It's all right to me. No, it's too hot. You're too angry. Well, if you don't like it, I cook for the way I like it. Well, you don't cook for the way you like it. You cook for the way other people like food. You ain't just cooking for yourself. If you want to cook for yourself, dump the whole bottle of habanero hot sauce in it and have at it. Yes, sirree, Bobby. But if you're cooking for somebody else, you might have to go closer to Red Devil. Red Devil is not that hot. When people can say, oh, yeah, she or he, oh, they got a little, spice to them. But I kind of like that in a woman. I kind of like that in a guy. They stand up for themselves. Not just too hot. And you don't want to be too bland either. Well, let it come, let it go. Let it stay. I don't care. I don't care about my hair. I don't care about my dress. I don't care about anything. I don't care. I'll put my mask on. You can't see me anyway. I don't care. That's a little bit too bland. You need a little spice in there. And so some spices, you got to, as you test your recipe, you start saying, some of this stuff, I'm not putting, that's too hot. I ain't putting that like that in there anymore. Are you too salty? Are you, the way you talk, is it a little bit too salty? Do you out-talk the person that you talking to? And you sit there and say, well, what do you think about this? But you know what? I think this is the best deal in life. What do you think about it? What do you think about how we make money? But I think the way we need to make money is we need to pull us, and the person says, can't get a word in edgewise. And then after a while you say, I'm sorry, I'm glad we had this conversation. But we begin to realize that as we experiment with these things, that's why it's so important to have a friend. Somebody that can say when your life is too spicy, they can say, cool it. What do you, just cool it. Just shut it down a little bit, baby. What do you mean? If you're going to have friends, you got to be able to have somebody that's going to say to you, just cool it. And that secret, I'm getting ready to tell you what's the secret to it all. I've already told you, but I'm going to tell you again, and I'm going to make it a little bit clearer. What's the secret sauce to your recipe? Because what you serve in business can determine how you move up the corporate ladder. What you serve as an entrepreneur can determine what kind of business you build, how you relate to people. And we talk about the romance and the care. However, I'm going to talk about your secret sauce. What is the secret that kicks you up above everybody else? Okay? Hang with me for about 100 seconds, 110 seconds. And I will be right back. You thought you'd never see spring again. The cold weather, the winter, COVID, everything that we've dealt with and gone through last year, and even in this brand new year. But I want to say this to you. What you plant in the ground in spring will come up into a harvest. What do you need in your life? What do you want in your life? This is a moment to put your faith, your trust, your hopes into knowing that your God of the universe can do anything. This is the place. Take a moment, go to myalc.org, or you can use your cell and your text to give. I know many of you love your text to give. This is where a lot of new people connect with us. The number's right there on your screen. Not only that, but use your app. We love to connect with that. So many things are happening. Get your radio show, all these different things. Or you can go to our P.O. Box. And that's Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. I had to get outside because spring is in the air. And you know what? Your best days are about to come up again. You gotta believe it. Whatever happens, you got to believe that. You know, that every recipe, every good chef has what they call a secret. I've talked to people who were making their secret spaghetti sauce, and what they put in there was a little bit of barbecue sauce, some particular, and you know, people knew the difference. But every chef adds a little bit of this, or maybe they don't use that, or they might use, it's always what they call that secret that makes that soup taste different than anybody else's soup, that makes their gumbo different than anybody else's. You can go to so many different restaurants and you can check how their gumbo or whatever their particular famous soup tastes like, and it always tastes the same there, but somewhere else you order the same thing, it's going to be different. I believe that that even though all of us have life, we all have different things in life that we do. We might all do some of the same kind of work. We go to church, but I think that's why churches have different flavors, because there's some people that are drawn to one thing, and some people that are drawn to another thing. That's just the way it is. And I think after we deal with some things in life, we go through some stuff. I think the things that we want, our tastes change. And believe me, when you start serving those different, I call them boxes in your life, when you start serving those different palettes in your life, when you start serving how to get a good reaction to your flavor of life from the business section in life, when you want to get a good reaction to your flavor from romance, if you want to get a good reaction in your life from education, becoming wise, and on and on, you got to have something that kicks that flavor up a little bit. Now, this is not just going to church. This is not just going to what I call the voice. This is bringing the voice, the secret sauce inside of your connections concerning business, education, romance. In other words, your spiritual flavor. See, that voice. You're listening for that voice, that inner thing within you, that inner sound within you, that connects with everything else the way it should, so that your confidence gets like this. I'm not worried about if somebody else gets business, if somebody else goes to somebody else's store. All I'm concerned with are those people who are looking for me. Pastors, it's not about, well, I better get out there real fast, even though, COVID is still trying to do its thing, because, I don't want to lose the members in my church, because, listen, whoever is looking for you and looking for what your ministry is, those are the ones that you've got to serve, because they're looking for your flavor. You pump up your spiritual life, amp up your understanding of things. Get you a good spiritual mentor. Get you a good life guide that can help you look at what your secret sauce is all about. There was one thing that Sandra, and my wife was gone to see the Lord, she would always do. And she